GSL.
Welcome back here at the GSL Code A. We've just seen Choya fall, but he's not out of this group just yet.
Tasis, you know what it's time for? Some of...
What time is it, Wolfie?
It's time for some Terran!
Terran! Well, it's not as exciting now because we're in Code A. We got plenty of Terrans still here. Here is SuperNova.
Yep, and there's TY.
SuperNova's been around for a long time here in the GSL. He's really like a household name if you've been watching us for a long time.
Yeah.
And I would say one of the best Terrans there is, really.
Well, he was one of 3 Terrans to be in Code S last season. TY hasn't had his real big individual league moments, similar to Flash, both on the same team. TY, of course, being a baby in Brood War, if you followed the scene way back then. And so he's been around for a really long time.
He's grown quite a bit. I used to cast Baby in StarCraft I out here for the GOMTV Classic. And yeah, man, I mean, it's just so funny. He's actually grown up so much. We'll see how SuperNova does here.
I look at SuperNova and I feel like I can say the same thing about him. You know, he's actually matured quite a bit as a player.
That's true, too. All these guys, we've seen him grow a lot here.
When I first saw SuperNova, I thought, you know, when he went to the Code A finals, back when we had finals at Code A, he looked like he might actually just be like a one-hit wonder. But I was absolutely mistaken. He's so consistent, great player, good strategies, one of the best mechers we've ever seen. And I suspect he will absolutely go mech in this TVT. TY, I'm not so sure about. I think we could see him try to just outmaneuver.
Well, we have seen some of that infantry style before, but it seems like solid mech can beat that, but it really does depend on the map. If there's enough mobility there that guy who's going for the infantry style can make it work, then he could take it that way, or at least get enough of a lead he could transition into mech later on. Anyways, it's time for our first TVT today. SuperNova against TY, formerly known as Baby, here in the GSL.
Top left in the blue. Teamless currently he is.
SuperNova.
A great Terran player. He's been around since the early days of the GSL.
And over here in the bottom right, playing StarCraft
TY.
For as long as you can remember. I mean, this guy's been around forever. He started his pro gaming career at 11?
Yeah, 10 or 11,
I believe it was at 11.
Something like that.
That's
very young.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it was a long time ago, too.
Come to think of it, when I was younger, StarCraft Brood War wasn't even out. I think I was 14 when Brood War came out.
I was much younger still than that.
Well, you were a baby, Wolf.
I was like 7 or 8.
Wolf was a fetus back then.
I was like playing with Hot Wheel cars, man. Like playing
Hot Wheels.
NES
I played with Micro Machines.
Yeah, I had a little bit of
Micro Machines were cool.
You ever play like? Because you were older than me, so I don't know. Like, I'm a little bit out of touch with like your generation for like the NES type stuff. Did you play Duck Hunt a lot?
Yeah, of course.
I played a lot of Duck Hunt.
Well, when you got a Nintendo when you were a kid, it always came with 2 games. It came with Mario World. It might have actually been called Super Mario World.
Mario Brothers, I think.
Super Mario Brothers, yeah. And then it came with Duck Hunt. And that was like it, man.
Well, like those are the 2 best games by far. Like I played 1945 all the time too.
Yeah, that one's really good. There's a few other good ones on NES, but yeah, I mean, well, Mario 3 was probably the best one that to come on NES. I mean, you could still play Mario 3 now, and it's like it stands the test of time.
I remember I didn't have an NES, but my neighbor did. And I played at his house all the time. His dad always seemed like he was like the meanest guy I ever knew, and he'd have all the games. I mean, they literally had like 60 cartridges in this little big drawer, and we always have it like locked with like a padlock. I don't even know why it was locked with a padlock. But he was like such an angry guy. Every time I saw him, he was coming back from work late, and he always had these padlock on the games. But I had this like fantasy that he was actually like the ultimate gamer. Like when the kids went to bed, he would like play the games all night.
He's like, time to beat another game tonight.
He's like has the games on the padlock so nobody can like get his save files or something, but it's like NES games, so there's no save files. Like I don't know.
There are some save files.
There are some.
You have to hold down reset and power.
Yeah. There's like a few specific games that do have it.
By the way, just to address what we have so far here, we have an expanding TT or TYTY against SuperNova, who's actually taking up to a starport here. So we have to see with the starport play, how much damage can he do, whether that be a drop or a tech into Banshees. What can he get accomplished here? Because otherwise, I keep wanting to call him TTY. I think because I played with TT1 back when I was a kid. We have to see how much damage TYTY can actually do here.
The reason why his ID appears as TYTY is because you have a 3-character limit on your ID in Battle.net. So the way that GOM handles that is to have the ID repeated. That's why we had Oz when Oz was playing. And just the UI just uses his Battle.net name at the top, so that's why that's like that.
So
a little
far,
bit of pressure here, but I think he's got enough to hold it.
Yeah, TY is doing a great job so far, pushing these back, zoning them out very well, making that Hellion, if it does dive in there one more time, certainly at risk of being gunned down.
This one needs to make sure it doesn't overextend because more Hellions are rallying across the map. And he's boosting that medevac across too. So, I mean, at this point in time with the bunker here, I don't think he's going to be able to get anything done. To commit here further would be a mistake. He just needs to use the map control that he has to do something else, like take a third base. Or rather, it's an expansion. He doesn't have an expansion up yet, but he could potentially use that control later to take a third base, but he needs to expand, and maybe he could circumvent this army by dropping into the main base. That's where his tech advantage is right now.
Let's see, there are some Marines down here, and in fact, if he gets right over there, okay, nice, boosting around them, and now the Marines are going to be out of position. He did not notice that.
Well, yeah, he didn't notice it, but now he knows, and I'm not sure how long these Hellions are really going to be able to stick around. He's going to try to fight here, but he's so low on hit points already. As you can see, that Hellion died in seconds.
TY actually making this look easy.
Yeah, like cancels the bunkers. I don't need this.
And now we have the Banshee and Cloak coming here. So, yes, SuperNova is expanding, but he's still very much so focused on the harass and doing the damage. So far, TY has pretty much deflected everything that's been coming at him. I mean, there's actually nearly a 10-worker supply difference here.
There's a third command center I was talking about. He's still got this bit of map control. It's hard to attack into him. He needs to catch up with the SCVs. He's forced TY to be a little bit on the defensive, so TY's not going to have his third as fast. And let's see, because so far, SuperNova has cut Marine production completely, and this means he's most likely going to mech. Whoa, that
would have been very bad if he lost that.
We just seems to be going to mech composition, especially with this Raven coming out here. Whereas with the double barracks here from TY, at least initially, he's very much focused on the bio. So, I mean, he's probably going to go into a Marine tank at the least mech, because you got to have some tanks in there. You got to have some backbone to your army.
Okay, the Banshee's now going to come around here. This is a smart move here from TY to actually do Banshees of his own. Coming up, sometimes that's a great way to defeat another player who's already going Banshees.
Yeah, it really gets into your head a little bit sometimes, too, because you're like so focused on your Banshee, then suddenly your opponent also goes Banshees at a different timing.
Well, especially when you're doing harass with a build like SuperNova, the Marines normally are quite expendable. You're not that worried if you are losing the Marines as long as the Hellions, the medevac are all alive. So then when the opposing Banshees do come in there, you might not have the Marines necessary to defend.
Control here by SuperNova around that area with barely any dead space, with a turret and Marines there, and how many SCVs he picked off. It's incredible. That's a good Banshee harass right there.
Now, also note, SuperNova already ready in case TY's opposing Banshees do come in now. He does have a Raven out, which means the Cloak investment from TY probably not going to be that effective.
Just looking at this game the way it is right now, it's like exactly like the SuperNova of old. He's very good at aggressive openings into taking a good macro game, but usually mech. He always uses his Banshees so well. I was talking to some of the Korean journalists. Well, hold that thought. Let's see how many damage this gets done, because he doesn't have a whole lot of anti-air here, even though he has detection. That's not a lot of Marines, and he can actually just fight those Marines with good micro, and then he might even have to like drop an auto turret or something. Yeah, which would be a bit wasteful in the long run. Here's that auto turret now. You know what, getting about 3 hits off on that Banshee before it has to back away. Now the Viking here should be able to take out this this Banshee with the final shot now. Oh, let's see what this Hellion group does, man. I think this could actually do a lot if it's unscouted. No reaction so far. He does see it. Oh my god, Hellions going in here and the SVs line up. So many kills there.
The Marines are quite nicely spread out here, but the Hellions push through anyways.
Wow, really nice damage done here. Absolutely worth it to lose those Hellions for that damage. Because he has a third CC, and he's keeping TY stifled a little bit while he builds his mech composition. And what everyone says about SuperNova in Korea is his Banshee into macro is like what he does and what he does well in this matchup. And we haven't seen it in a long time because TVT's... I don't want to say it's like an endangered species or something, but it's just like...
No, dude, we hardly ever cast TVTs, man.
It's funny because we used to all the time. And
that
now
was like the defining StarCraft II matchup for a while. As Terrans were so dominant, you know, back on the early phases of Wings of Liberty especially.
Yeah. That Banshee has 16 kills. Can you believe that? And he's not done yet.
If it's SuperNova, I can. You can see that, by the way, the Viking that came up there to take that out has not been spotted just yet. And Banshee harass continues here.
Yeah, he's doing his own a decent amount of damage. You see, I mean, he flies to a turret here, but unfortunate we'll lose that without a single additional kill. The second Banshee does go down, but I would say a well done harassment by TY as well. It's just the cost that he made to do it. I'd say they both did about the same damage, but he did 2 Banshees plus Cloak, so that's a lot more expensive. Whereas SuperNova just made like 1 Banshee off a Starport and then went into a Raven, which is going to be used later on. And he's meching pretty hard here.
Yeah, and we have these guys, as I was about to jump on that. I mean, it's going to be mech versus bio play here. So excuse me, the fact that I played with TT1 and the fact that I formally know this guy as Baby, and I've casted so many games he was Baby, makes it tricky for me to say his name. TY here is going to be going for the tank with infantry combination, whereas SuperNova is going to be going for the ultra-conservative route mech. So what SuperNova needs to do for the time being is sit back, defend, not take any additional damage, and most importantly, not have his tank count reduced.
Yeah. Ooh, we're starting to see some Hellbat drops. This is something that is like not as effective as it used to be, but still, if you don't take it seriously, if you don't pull your SCVs right away, you can lose so much because they do so much damage. We used to be able to fit 4 of those in the medevac, but not so much anymore. Alright, well, still lines up the SCVs. Mostly gets out there okay, and with the medevacs here, you can actually heal some of those SCVs, so it's not like later on he's going to drop and finish them off. But I like the position for TY a little bit just because his army is more mobile, and he has secured this location, this third base, a little bit faster than SuperNova's been able to do, and he's also got even a 4th CC coming up. We need to make sure he can keep the army of SuperNova small, or at least keep harassing him, because right now he's just kind of taking more bases, but he's not using his mobility as well as he could be. He's using his mobility purely to defend rather than to continue to attack. And if SuperNova gets maxed out and gets those mech upgrades, then his army is just always going to be better. You know, you can't make a bio army better than a mech army unless you catch it out of position.
And let's talk about that for a second. The reason why the mech army is generally, with damage output superior to the bio army, is the siege tanks with the range, they do so much damage before the first few shots from the bio army can come out. That in combination with point defense drone, because really Marauders are what counter tanks. If you have point defense drone out, that gives your tanks at least 1 more volley to fire, which is usually enough for the battle to be decided. So, you know, what the bio army player tries to do is use mobility, drop where the mech army's not, and then also just try to catch them when they're unsieged, for instance.
Right. Now, you know, another thing that what you can do as a bio player is try to do, at least to get out of the situation you're in where you're suddenly like, well, I can't harass him anywhere. He's got turret rings set up, his tanks are everywhere, is try to make a switch into BCs and take air control. Unfortunately, it's a bit too late for that already, as SuperNova is the one who's got the better Viking count here.
That's also a tricky transition as well, because a simple scan spotting that can cause a huge problem.
I think that scan might have also just been to say, like, all right, what's your air position like? Okay, you're ahead of me in Vikings, but I can change that. And he's actually now caught up 5-5, and he's continuing to make Vikings. There's a big lift up of Hellbats here. The Hellbats oftentimes drop just on top of the bio to tank some damage for the siege tanks, and also just because it does a lot of splash damage, especially to Marines. And Hellbats aren't armored either, so Marauders don't do a ton of damage to them quickly, so they can tank a little bit. Those medevacs. So TY is just playing this like we've seen like Nada play. I know I'm putting like an old name up here, but he's just like taking expansions everywhere on the map.
Well, also I do like the high proximity sensor tower, excuse me, right next to the other player's base.
Yeah.
Because it allows, it makes moving out very, very difficult. By the way, we're having an SCV pull, it looks like here. I'm actually a bit confused. We have this attack coming on over here, but what's over here? All right, massive drop now. Now, did he outmaneuver TY here?
Well, let's find out. A lot of these drops actually get killed before they go off.
Also important to note is that the majority of the siege tanks are actually down here, clumped up all there. There are 5 of them now at the bottom. Tanks now coming up over here. Is SuperNova going to get sandwiched, or is he going to mow down his opponent?
I think he's going to get sandwiched here, man.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I think he way miscalculated this engagement.
Yeah, and from here to, I was going to say, that's going to be it. I mean, you lose your mech army like that, and you lose the game. You know, by the time that army's wiped out, TY is going to be in control for the next 5 minutes minimum of the game.
That's why I love this matchup so much, because I know a lot of people watching this and like, well, that was anticlimactic. He just attacked it and thought he had it, but he didn't. But it's like so beautiful to see how well you can position. It's a game of real-time chess with limited vision, and the reason why that SCV pull happened was because he had a sensor tower up, and he saw 2 medevacs going towards his base, and he panicked, thinking that it was like a double marine drop or something, pulled his SCVs away. And in fact, that was not what was occurring, and then his SCVs were just kind of out of position, and that's why that sensor tower is important to spot things like this. And I think TY was trying to abuse the fact that he could see something was coming, but he wasn't exactly sure what it was.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And that forward sensor tower, we didn't really get to talk about that too much, but you mentioned it, is cool because then you can see where your opponent is while he's defending